Hey, welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Zach. I'm here with Coach Brandy and Coach Jolie. And today we are talking about all of the gimmicks and misconceptions and false ideas and around all of the different training concepts and formats and things that are out there. So I'm sure there will be plenty of ranting on my end, so sit tight for that. But before we get into today's topic, we always like to give a shout out to a client of the week because we love our members here. And Jolie, this was your pick, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, this week we want to give a shout out to Christine McCarroll. She's how long has she been here? 2-3 months?
Maybe 2 months.
Maybe 2 months. And she's been so dedicated at getting in the gym, making the time to get in the gym, and her work schedule, like most people's, is all over the place. So she'll have to, maneuver her schedule around work-wise. She's sometimes has to come in a few minutes late to a session. She's always double checking, like, hey, can I come in? And she keeps her head down, works hard when she's here, and she's been killing it. She's been making progress.
She's so fun to train.
She's so fun.
Yeah. And I love that she makes time for her workout, even though her schedule is so busy. There was one time I was training her, she's working out and she's like getting all these text messages from her boss. And finally she responded and she's like, I am doing something for work right now. I'm working out so that I will reduce my stress so that I can be a better employee or something like that. And I'm like, yes. Go do it. That's so great.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
She literally today texted me 4 minutes before a session and she's like, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Can I come in for a workout? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And last week, the same thing happened. It wasn't 4 minutes before. It was like 15 minutes before or something. And she comes in and she stops in my office and she's like, I'm so sorry. You guys probably think I'm crazy. And I was like, listen, I just have to tell you how much we appreciate this. You never feel like you're inconveniencing us at all. I was like, maybe 1 out of 100 times we're not going to be able to get you in because we'll be full or something. But I was like, you do this every time you can possibly get in here for a workout because 99 times it's going to work. Mm-hmm. And we just appreciate the fact that you are making this work. Yeah. And so, I tell people all the time because it's a very common thing for somebody to, they'll inquire about our program and they're like, I'm just too busy, work's too crazy. And I'm like, yeah, the only people that work out here are the people that have nothing going on. Right. It's like, no, this is exactly.
This is the picture of prioritizing.
Everyone's
prioritizing.
Busy. Yeah.
So, and she's a mom, she's got kids, she's working, there's a lot going on in her life. She can still make it happen. If she can make it happen, you can. But Christine, thanks for setting the example. It's pretty cool. So, all right. I think we're gonna call this. I think we're gonna call this episode "Thieves and Liars."
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Thieves and Liars. So, if you just look, before we talk about fitness, let's talk about diets, right? There are a bazillion different diets out there, and there's books around them, and there's all these different programs and online things that you can join, and all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, it's if you just eat healthy food, if you just eat, prioritize your protein, eat your vegetables like your mama told you, and then don't have a bunch of sugar and processed foods, you're probably going to be relatively healthy and fit, right? It's very hard to become overweight from eating broccoli. It's impossible to overeat chicken because your body's gonna be like, yo, I'm full, stop eating. But it's where people get into trouble is with the garbage that they're eating, the sugar, the processed foods, the drinks, the sugary drinks, all of that stuff. And so really in our whole entire society, we have all of these plans and marketing gimmicks out there and if you look at all of them, it's don't eat too much and eat healthier food. Right. When you break them all down. And if you just think about it from that, standpoint, and then equate that or along those same lines, like parallel that to fitness, it's like with fitness, there's these fundamental things that we know based off of science work the best. And yet there are all of these gimmicks and programs out there that just try to get people to buy into them. And it's really frustrating and somewhat sad because, you know, for somebody that's a professional in this space, like if you do that, you're really kind of preying on people that are vulnerable, right? So there's people that get to a point where they're feeling frustrated with their overall health, their fitness level. They know they need to exercise, they need to work out, they want to take care of themselves. You know, maybe have tried things in the past and they've failed and they're like, I don't really know where to start. You know, I need to do something. And then there's some like bogus program out there that's like promising these obscene results, and somebody that's susceptible is like, they have no idea. They're just like, hey, this sounds really good, I'm going to go do this. And then it either doesn't work, or they can't stick with it, or they get hurt because it's the wrong approach. It's way too aggressive. It's not, you know, rooted in science. There's 20 people in a class like jumping on boxes and getting sweaty and bumping into each other and throwing weight around, and no attention is placed on form. And then they get hurt and they're in a worse position than even when they started. And you just see the cycle over and over and over again. And I'm just so sick of it.
I am too.
I'm so
Same.
I'm so sick of it. And, you know, we can talk about what people should do, but before we do that, I just want to say, like, I want to call out some of these things. So
let's do it.
And say what you shouldn't do, right? And look, when I first got in the industry, I was a poor college kid. I was in love with this girl that worked at the front desk of the gym. And I was like, what is the easiest way for me to become a personal trainer? And I went to Scottsdale Community College Library. I checked out a NASM book, which is a textbook on personal trainers, like the, you know, National Academy of Sports Medicine. And then the NASM test was too expensive. I think it was like $500 at the time. I don't know what it costs now. And then instead I did the ACE test, which was like, I don't know, $200. So it was like $300 cheaper. And I studied the NASM test. I passed the ACE exam, and now I could call myself a certified personal trainer. I went and I got hired at 24 Hour Fitness. I had zero idea about anything other than how to train myself. And people were paying me to take them through workouts. And I look back at where I started, and I'm like, you were such an idiot. Like, I can't believe you had people doing that, you know, like you were doing it was horrible training. It was horrible. But like, I evolved,
right?
And I learned, and
right.
I, you know, once I realized, like, hey, that's not the right way to go about things. This is the wrong approach. I changed. And I was like, I'm going to take care of my clients. I'm going to do what's right for these people. I'm not going to put them in a, you know, jeopardized position or overtrain them and hurt them. And it really came about from caring about my clients. The information's out there. And so, like, for anybody in this industry that's still doing things that we're like, hey, that was dumb back then, but we didn't know any better, it's even worse now.
Right. There's so much information out there. So can we call some out?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So I want to start by calling out Orange Theory.
Orange
Theory, you know, similar to F45, or what are some other ones?
Burn Boot Camp,
Yes.
Fit Body Boot Camp, like any of your like quote unquote HIIT. If
Yes.
you actually, so HIIT is totally the wrong, that's not even what HIIT is. So go back and listen to our last episode.
Right.
It's circuit training is
Yeah.
really what these places are doing. But yeah, let's go,
Yeah,
Brandy.
I have tried. I've been to an Orange Theory class. I've been to a Burn boot camp class. I've been to some of these other like HIIT classes, you know, one time just to see what they're about.
Same.
They kind of have a culture about them. So often though, people that we train in our gym come in and they say, I tried these things and I got hurt. I only took one class. I did not get hurt, but my daughter went to an Orange Theory class for a couple of weeks and ended up with a stress fracture. And she's in her 20s.
Yeah.
They're like jumping around. It's not really supervised at all. There's no form correction or really focus on form at all. You're using very light weights, heavy on the reps. So light weights, lots of reps, jumping around. You're in a prime environment to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Or to overtrain or to, burn yourself out. I saw that firsthand.
Yeah.
If you don't get hurt, which you probably will in that type of environment, but if you don't, it's gonna stop working. You might lose some weight initially over the first 3 to 8 weeks, kind of depending on the person. But then after that, the only weight that you're going to be losing is muscle.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be your body's going to be in such a stressed state that you're not going to lose weight or body fat. And then energy levels are going to start to decline. And there's going to be some negative side effects around that. Like, when we create muscle fiber, damage, like there's also a free radical response in your muscle tissue. And so if it's too oxidative or you're constantly in that stress state, over time, that's going to catch up to you. Your immune system's going to be repressed. There's going to be hormonal issues, all kinds of stuff.
Sleep's going to be messed up.
Sleep is going to be messed up.
Anxiety. There's so many things that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And for our clients, it's a challenge to get them to eat like enough protein to sustain the training we're doing here. Right. And we're coaching them on that. There's zero coaching or help from those other places. It's like show up and get sweaty. Right. And then, people will not eat enough protein. They'll work out, they create the muscle damage, they go to sleep, they grow back their muscle or repair that muscle, and then they repeat that process over again. So muscle damage, eat away at the muscle tissue, go to sleep, rebuild it. And they're just in this constant cycle of never gaining any muscle because they just like keep demolishing the amount that they're like creating this adaptation to get. And then, it's very like, if you look at an Orange Theory and F45, like any of these places that are corporate, the programming is coming out of like headquarters somewhere that the workout is designed where they don't know you. There's no thought process whatsoever of like, hey, I've got Mrs. Johnson coming in and she's 45 years old and she's going into, perimenopause and maybe here's what she needs.
Yeah.
There's also no thought process around like, hey, if this client comes in and does this workout tomorrow, here's what they should do the next day or 3 weeks from now or a month from now. And if people don't pay us for a workout to come in and get sweaty, what they should pay us for is the knowledge and the expertise to build out a program for them that's going to continue to get them results and be sustainable. And there's none of that because they don't know you. Right. And their model is theatrics is really what it comes down to. It's like, come in, sweat, have like this community experience where you're just like dying and you're drenched and you worked really hard, and that's the value that they're providing. There's nothing beyond that. It's time to get smarter.
Yeah. Right. And the coaching is what bothers me the most, right? If you go to any of these places like an F45 and Orange Theory, like rarely are you getting greeted more than 2 seconds of like, hey, Brandy, welcome to your first class. Like that's the
jump in.
Jump on in. Let's look at your heart rate and see how high you can get it's kind of ridiculous in that sense where it's not like, do you have any previous injuries? Do you have anything that movements that that you do that hurt you or bother you, right? Yeah. When someone comes in here, we're going through like an intake process and making sure we have all the knowledge that we need to know before they even set foot on the training floor.
Right. There's no customization at all with an Orange Theory or an F45. You're just going through their program that's given to, everyone across the country.
Yeah. Exactly. And like there could be, there could be a good coach, right? Like, you can find, like I started 24-hour fitness and I had zero idea what I was doing. And then I learned and I got, better. You could have somebody that's like a diamond in the rough, right? They just need to be in the right environment and continue to learn and grow. There's nothing against the like coaches that work, in those places, but they could also just be like a bum and they're just entertaining you for,
or it's just overwhelming too.
Or it's just overwhelming. Yeah, it's hard to train 20, 30 people at one time.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you guys on the coaching front, so you got like your large group training model, whatever, that's hopefully dying. Like I hope from an education standpoint, like people are starting to listen to podcasts. They're starting to learn more. It seems like even doctors now, lo and behold, are telling people they need to strength train,
Imagine that.
Wow. Like, hey, thanks for catching up. It's, 2025. We've been talking, we've known this for a couple of decades now. But like I want to call out or, educate people on like the big box gyms. So a couple weeks ago, I went to a recruiting event. There's a school for personal trainers, and it's not like you have to like apply to get in this school. It's like you pay to go through this program and get a foundation around coaching and training. And so at the end at graduation, they invited some gyms to go and talk to the students. And then it's also like a recruiting event. So if there's students there, maybe you have an internship program or you're hiring and you want to like create some relationships with these coaches. So I went up and I, kind of explained to everybody what we do here and kind of, what the training model looks like. And then there were a couple other gyms that did that. And then there's a gym, it's EOS Fitness. Let's just call them out. EOS gets up there and they're like, we've got locations all over the valley. We will hire you on the spot. Like verbatim, that's what she said. We'll hire you on the spot. And there's no training. There's no even interviewing to see if you're like a decent candidate or not. No process whatsoever. When you go to a big box gym, and I don't care if it's an EOS, a Mountainside, a Lifetime's a little bit tougher to get into, but like the barrier for entry is basically zero, right? When I started 24-hour fitness, is like I went and took this test and said, hey, I'm certified. The thing about those places, big box gyms, is it's a sales position first. No, people aren't coming in signing up for training. The trainers' jobs are to go out and approach people, sell them personal training, and then take them and train them. There's no really like standardized, process around like, here's what our training looks like. It's just, you're just there and you take people and you do whatever you want with them as long as you can sell them training. And, which was a shocker to me when I first got into the industry. My first day, my manager's like, okay, go like talk to people, get them to train with you, sell them some training. And I'm like, what? I thought you were just going to like send the people to me. I was going to train them.
Yeah.
And I realized almost immediately, like out of the gate, no, this is a sales position first. It's a training position second. Right. And they're so, I work out in EOS Fitness because it's convenience right by my house, 3 minutes away, and I can go there anytime I want. Right. But like I've trained at the same EOS for a year and a half. It's like maybe a coach lasts 2 months there, and then it's like there's new coaches and I never see the same. That's what you're getting. You're getting somebody that has pretty much almost no qualifications, no experience. If they had experience or qualifications, they wouldn't be working at a big box gym like that. They'd be working at like a training facility. So if you're walking into one of those places and you're like thinking you're going to get good training, again, maybe there's a rare occasion where somebody's decent, but odds are you're walking into a situation where it's like that person is most likely going to hurt you, has no idea what they're doing. Like,
right. It's more of a salesperson.
Ask some good questions.
Can we talk about yoga and Pilates?
Ooh, I love talking about yoga and Pilates.
Zach was waiting for this one.
Man.
I know. Okay. Yeah. I have to say, I am someone who occasionally does yoga.
Yeah.
But I don't do yoga to build strength, and I don't do yoga to build muscle. I do yoga for the mindfulness aspect of it. I think it's, for me, sometimes that feels really good to just like go to a yoga session. I know that I'm going to feel good mentally after the session is over, but I also know that that's not where I'm going to build my muscle and strength in that yoga class. So it's so frustrating to me when I hear people say, I'm going to start training again. I really want to build muscle and get stronger. So I signed up for Pilates or I signed up for yoga. I'm like, that's not going to get you those results. Maybe it'll give you something else, but you're not going to get stronger through yoga and Pilates.
But Brandy, I want long, lean muscle.
Yeah. I want to tone.
Yes.
I want to get toned.
All right. Here.
Let's
gimmicks,
go,
man.
Come on.
Gimmicks and misconceptions. So like I had a lady the other day who told me she wanted to get longer muscles. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. You obviously don't know anything about anatomy because like the bone, there's an origin site and there's an insertion site.
Yes.
The muscle starts at a certain point and it attaches to a certain point and then the length of the muscle depends on your bone.
Yes. You're
the
not
length
changing
of your
that.
bone.
Unless you get a lot taller or something.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you're not going to be able to change that. So this whole idea that there's like muscle lengthening, no, what you're saying is, hey, I get this layer of body fat and I can't see my muscle. You need to lose body fat in order to see your muscle. You can train the muscle. You cannot train fat. There's no fat training exercises that exist. When you do an exercise, you're training the muscles involved in performing that exercise. If you want to see the muscle and have it be more toned and defined, you have to reduce your body fat.
Right. And going back to the gimmicks, when you're, I've taken yoga and Pilates before, and that's what I hear the instructors say. Come on, these little pulses, let's keep pulsing. That's how you're going to get that long, lean, toned muscle that you're after. So they're repeating those gimmicks in the class because, that
perceived effort.
Right.
You feel this
the burn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is just a chemical response in your muscle tissue. It's saying, hey, this muscle is fatiguing. We're running out of energy. We need to clear to clear this out, this lactic acid out or lactate. And that's your body telling you that that's what's going on. That doesn't mean that you're training well. Actually, if you were training well, you wouldn't feel that at all. So if you're training smarter, and then like Pilates, there's zero strength involved in that. Like it's not strength training. You're not gonna improve your bone mass or bone density whatsoever. No. If you're weak and you haven't worked out in forever and you're starting from scratch, yes, there's going to be some initial, like you might gain a little bit of muscle, but that's only going to be like from a.
You're going to plateau really.
You're going to plateau really quick.
Exactly.
There's no progressive overload. No. If you want to increase your skeletal muscle mass and your strength, you have to continue to increase the amount that you're doing, either volume wise or weight wise. And there's a specific way to go about that and like a strategic way to go about it. I can't stand, Pilates is my pet peeve. Like if somebody asks me what my pet peeve is,
Pilates.
That's it, man, because it's so frustrating to me. Like I'm sure there's some benefits somewhere. There's some benefits. I don't know what they are. I haven't been able to identify them. I mean, Pilates was created as a rehab program for ballet dancers. Mm-hmm. And so that was the origin of Pilates. most people don't look like ballet dancers. You know, I don't know how many women want to look like ballet dancers. Maybe they do. I don't know. But, you know, like.
The ballet dancers have the long, lean
They
muscles.
They do because they don't eat, and it's called cocaine. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, it's like, if you don't have that body type and you haven't been doing ballet since you were 5 years old, like it's not going to turn your body into that. I'm sorry. Yeah. So,
and I feel like it's really targeted a lot of the times, like mostly for women.
Yeah.
And women in, let's just say, you know, I'm going to talk about my demographic, perimenopause and menopause. We want to be gaining skeletal muscle and improve our bone density. And that is the opposite of what you're going to do in a Pilates or a yoga class.
Yeah.
You need to be lifting weights and lifting heavy.
And slow. And
right.
And
progressive overload.
Steady,
Yeah.
and you need to have varying intensity and volume levels, and you need to train all of the different movement patterns in a well thought out manner. So with our training program, right? Like there's certain things that are universal that apply to everybody. And then it's like, or I should say universal principles. And then our job is like, let's take those scientific principles and figure out how to best apply them to the individual. That's where personalization comes in. So the science doesn't change just because you're you, right? Like there's still the scientific principles. We know we need to strength train. We need progressive overload. Your body squats, it hinges, it presses, it pulls. Like we need to reinforce those movement patterns. So we need to train those. Mm-hmm. We can't train them all at once. We can't train them back to back to back to back to back. So there has to be some mapping that we need to do to figure out like, hey, if you come in on a Monday and you work out, here's a structure that we're going to do. We're going to target these muscles, these movement patterns. You come back on Tuesday, we're not going to do those same things with you. We need to do something a little bit different. However, it needs to be different muscles enough that you have time to recover, but also frequent enough of the same muscles and same movement patterns that we grease the groove, meaning that your neuromuscular system starts to learn how to perform these movements and become more efficient at them. But then us figuring out like, hey, those things all apply to everybody. What exercises should we have you do? Because exercises vary on a scale of intensity level, demands that we're placing, skill level, how deep is that groove that we greased? Have you learned how to do this movement before we would progress you to this movement? And if you don't know that, then your program's either going to be ineffective or you're going to get injured. So that's my beef with like CrossFit. It's like you walk into a CrossFit gym and they're like, hey, we're going to take this weight and we're going to throw it over our head like for 20 reps. And you're like, okay, cool. I've never done this before. And I'm going to throw this. And it's like, I've never met a single person that has done CrossFit that hasn't gotten injured doing CrossFit.
Same. Yeah.
It doesn't exist. It's like, that's a sport. It's a very cool sport. It's awesome. It's competitive. It's fun to watch. That's not a training program.
Right.
That's just like, you're going to go in, you're going to work out, everybody's going to high five you, and then you're going to be injured and you're going to not work out for the next 6 months.
Right.
So, it's like, there's a process here. It's like, yeah, strength training needs to happen, but like you need to start at the level that you're at that matches your capability. And then we need to strategically progress you over time. And your program does not have an end date. That's also the thing, like the lose 20 pounds in 20 days or, the 6-week challenges or, all of these things. It's like, if that's the approach you're taking towards your training is inefficient. The approach that you should take for your training is like, hey, I'm going to train 3-4 times a week for the rest of my life. Let's design a program around that.
Yes.
Because if there's a finish, if you can have goals, right? We can have goals. But if there's like, I'm just trying to hit the end of this program and then I'm done. Okay, well, then great. What? I don't know if you know this, but if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Like, you can't just get fit one time and stay fit forever. Yeah. And our training program has to be built to be sustainable And we have to have the approach of like longevity. This is a part of my lifestyle. I need the things that I can do for the rest of my life. And if we can find 10 to 20 exercises that you can do safely, that don't hurt you, that you can do all, every 2 weeks you do these 20 exercises, you can do that for the rest of your life. Feel amazing, look amazing, and just train where you can go to the gym, you can work out, and then you can go do whatever it is that you want to do outside of the gym, whether it's golf, hike, backpack trips, keep up with your grandkids, whatever. And you don't have to think about it because you have built a program that has served you to enjoy living.
It's given you that foundation to enjoy your life, which is how it should be.
And you will look the best you could possibly look doing that versus going and jumping on boxes and burning yourself out.
Yeah.
So it's a combined, benefit for you if you go about this right. You get everything. There's no like, if you're doing things right, you get the strength results, you get the fitness results, you get the look results. And
the overall health.
The overall health
too. Yeah.
So, all right, guys, we will stop ranting, but we wanted to shed some light on this because, and look, you don't have to take our word for it. You can do your own research. There's even ChatGPT now, so you have to be careful how you ask the questions. But like, if you ask them in a non-biased, you ask for non-biased responses, it's going to tell you like, hey, whether you're 20 years old, 40 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, you need to be strength training. Mm-hmm. That's all there is to it. So, all right, that's all we got. We'll be back next week with more great stuff.
Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale Podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.